I talked about in a video a while ago. It was during a live stream and I cut it out as its own video, like I'm going to do this as well. And I talked about how mm, boys are afraid to be men. And I talked about how our culture, for one thing, just doesn't want to even remotely celebrate manhood, and men is something that you should strive to be. And I was pointing out a lot of things, for example, any kind of real masculinity is toxic masculinity, and this kind of super beta male, simp kind of thing. Just shut up and listen to how bad you are as a man. That's the only uh, existence a male is tolerated, in the woke world or the progressive ideologue world. And I said, even look at women who, or look at men who try to trans into women. Men who try to pretend that they're women. They want to celebrate womanhood and celebrate, their femininity and all that kind of stuff. But you don't see that from women who want to trans and be men. They're confused about their own things, but they're not like celebrating masculinity. So it's, our culture is very much anti-masculine right now. And so much to the fact, and that I pointed out how boys are just our culture is emasculating them and infantilizing them, not wanting them to be men. uh and you've got a lot of boys who react against it, but in a lot of ways refuse to grow up and take on the responsibility of manhood. What is real authentic masculinity is protecting, using your power and strength to serve and protect others. And our culture is definitely not one that would encourage selflessness in any way right now. It's really sad and tragic, but that's the case. The same thing can be said of women in our culture right now. Girls are dissuaded from wanting to grow up and be women, real women, like authentic womanhood. And what is authentic womanhood? I mean, if I said that, when I was describing authentic masculinity is serving, using your power and strength to protect others, I said it's basically fatherhood. Now, not that everybody has to be a father. Plenty of authentic men, aren't fathers, or can't be fathers, or will never be fathers, or whatever, because of whatever reason. But it's still that fatherhood aspect of protecting, using your strength to protect. Um, you can have that no matter whether you're actual father or not. And it's the same thing for women. The authentic, feminine genius is motherhood. And again, maybe you're not an actual mother, maybe you'll never be an actual mother in terms of raising a child, but you still have that feminine genius, that that compassion, that nurturing, that care. And there are a lot of different ways to be that. It doesn't mean that you have to be all saccharine and, sweet Mrs. Johnson from next door, for that to happen. There's a lot of different styles and ways of mothering that we've seen in our mythology, that we've seen, a lot. I mean, you've got everybody from Ma Kent to Sarah Connor. I mean, there are a lot of different ways of authentic womanhood, authentic, femininity out there, and in authentic motherhood, even. So that's what it is. But our culture 100% dissuades that. Our culture, and especially the feminist movement hates motherhood, hates motherhood. Now it'll still claim it does, and it'll say, no, we mothers need to teach their kids the right things, and blah blah blah. No, authentic womanhood, authentic motherhood, like authentic masculinity, is self-giving. It's saying no to yourself. It's saying, I'm going to give of myself. I'm going to be selfless. I'm not going to think, what's good for me? What's good for me and my development? What's good for my family? Gasp! Dare a woman, put her family before herself in today's day and age? Oh, that can't have that at all. So what do you get? You get these like cookie cutter woke characters in mythology, because these are the kind of people that the progressive ideologues want to be, especially the women, and think that all women should be, and they pride themselves in this nonsense. And they say, well, we just, oh no, we couldn't be mothers. We like to be aunties. We're aunties. That kind of thing right there is enough to drive you wild. That concept right there. Oh no, we like being aunties. Now, there's nothing wrong with being an aunt, and if you're an auntie, God bless you. Do well for your nieces and nephews. But that kind of sentiment that, oh, I can never be a mother, but I want to be an auntie. That's saying I want access to kids whenever they can make me feel good, or I can look good having kids around, but I don't want the responsibility of motherhood. Oh my gosh, then I couldn't pursue my dreams. Then I couldn't pursue everything that I want. Me, 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 me. That's what the auntie narrative is. And you see a lot of these female characters, and they're all the same kind of cookie cutter character. Like I said, they're all about how OMG so random I am. Look how cutesy we are. This kind of nonsense, and that's what you see from the Marvels all through it. Again, I haven't seen it, not going to see it, but you can see it just from the previews, the trailers. It was certainly the Miss Marvel Kamala Khan nonsense. I saw a clip of it when and I don't even care about the movie, but something happens and they're all kind of linked or whatever, and Kamala Khan's like, we're a team. It was just like nails on a chalkboard, so grating. But that's the kind of thing that they think is oh so cute. Look at us being so funny and random and cute. uh we've heard about, even before the film came out, that people were saying that the humor just falls flat. It certainly fell flat in the trailers and whatnot as well. So let the spotlight be on me. Even their heroism isn't really self-giving. It's kind of, because they have to do this for their good. The idea of being, especially for a woman, certainly for a man, but especially for a woman, the idea of being an authentic, of exuding authentic motherhood. Again, whether you're an actual mother or not, exuding authentic motherhood, authentic femininity, of caring and nurturing and giving of yourself for others. That's the feminists hate that. They despise that, and you'll find them, of course, trying to argue differently. But no, the proof is in the pudding. Look at their deeds, not their words. That's where you see the truth. Sound engraver for $2, my dear wife. Thank you. Feminism hates women. Amen. 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 That's so true. And never let anybody try and convince you otherwise. People try to. I haven't heard it so much anymore, but there used to be this movement about a defense of feminism, and anytime you dared critique feminism, it was, look, do you think women should be equal to men? Do you think we should be treated equally? Then congratulations, you're a feminist. And that is the most insincere piece of BS you could ever. There was even a whole ad campaign, I think, television commercials that did that. That's not how language works, Cupcake. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. That's like saying, look, do you believe in Jesus? Well, then you're a Christian. Congratulations. That's so not even remotely the case. You can believe that Jesus existed and believe all number of manner of things with him. It doesn't necessarily make you a Christian, and even when you acknowledge that and you try to start to parse that down. I use this for my classes as well. I say, you can't, for those of my students who want to get into feminist theory or want to write papers from feminist theory, I'm like, hey, that's fine. I'm going to help you write it well, though. You can't just use the term feminist, because feminist, it's almost like the term Christian, in that if someone says I'm a Christian, you still don't really know anything about them, because how many thousands of different flavors are there, disparate from each other? How many different aspects of Christianity are there? You think about denominations, but not even just that. I mean, okay, well, Catholic or Protestant. Okay, well, the Protestant. Okay, well, still in Protestant, the Baskin Robin of flavors and beliefs. Are they more Calvinist? Because that's a whole specific thing. Are they more Armenian or Molinist or whatever? It's just totally different. To the point where even, and it's by definition, it works, right? Somebody like if you say, okay, well, they're Protestant Christians. Okay, well, that could put two people, let's say a Mormon and a Southern Baptist. Those two don't share much at all when it comes to specific doctrine, right? Just, we need to be specific with our, they can both claim the name of Christian, sure, but they also believe different things about the deity of Christ and so forth, and different, individual doctrines and whatnot. Same as difference as a Southern Baptist and a Methodist and so forth. And the same thing is true with feminism. And I think it's a fun thing to do is when you get, if a bunch of feminists come after you, start talking about specifics, because pretty soon they start trying to eat their own. They'll start fighting over each other, and it's not even just as clear cut as like first, second, and third wave feminism. We're even far beyond that now. We're so far beyond that to where you've got a lot of people, gender theorists, don't even like the term feminism anymore, but will still sort of claim it. It's absurd how they try to fight with a united front, but you get to any kind of specifics and they'll eat their own in a heartbeat. So never let them pull this garbage on you that, well, look, hey, what's wrong with feminism? Feminism is just about, equal rights. What's wrong with that? Are you a monster and don't believe in that? Define equal rights. Does a male and female have equal worth? Absolutely. Should one be enslaved to the other? Not in any way, but they're different and they're better at certain things than the other. They're different roles they can flourish in. It's just a matter of truth. I've been in classes with, when I was getting my master's degree in English at, a state university. So liberals, packed in the class. What were we reading? We were reading, it was actually a class on science fiction, which I thought was going to be interesting, but it wasn't. It was just about how can we use the science fiction to further our different political agendas. Ridiculous garbage. And we read Neuromancer. Johnny Mnemonic is a short story that what's his name? I'm blanking on the author's name. Wrote, and then Neuromancer is kind of a continuation of that. So really cool cyberpunk, And we were talking about the treatment of the characters and whatnot. And I remember one girl's like, "But I read that this main girl character in the book later on she goes on to have a child." And I'm just like, "Oh, really? A mother again? Like that's all we can do with our female characters?" Like, I'm sorry, that's all you can do with your female characters? Create another human being with your own body and nurture it with your own. That's pretty freaking amazing. And that's pretty awesome to do with, a female character. And it's also essential to make a good, valid, authentic feminine character, whether or not they actually have the child or actually raise the child, but have that aspect of motherhood to their femininity. 100%, 100% necessary. The other aspect of this is if one of the things we've talked about before too is the portrayal of heroines, of women in modern media, comic book superheroes in particular. The movement to, we can't show them in any way that accentuates their form because that's sexist, and you look at the modern day Marvel, you look at modern day representations of Carol Danvers to when she first came out. Look at that image on my thumbnail there when I had the original Captain Marvel costume, and she's gone through a couple different costumes, but all the way to Frank Cho. Now, yes, you can have versions of that costume that are sexualized, but the costumes itself were never innately sexualized. Like, oh no, you saw her navel. Oh, but that's so unrealistic. How could, why wouldn't she cover that part of her body if she's going to fight crime? Because it's a comic book. It's not supposed to be realism. It's supposed to be visually significant. And when you augment, or what's the word I'm looking for, when you accentuate different types of a woman's body or a male's body, it tells you certain things about their character. And as I said before, motherhood is at the core of femininity, just as fatherhood's at the core of masculinity. And babies are birthed between the hips and nursed at the breast. So it is absolutely necessary. That's just the way the visual iconography works in comic book superheroes, to have a somewhat accentuated or somewhat, I don't want to say displayed because I'm not talking about like uncovered or anything, but costumes that do play up the feminine nature of the woman, either accentuate the breasts or hips. And I'm not saying that they have to be huge breasted or anything like that, but that's just part of the visual symbolism of it. That original costume with Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, was great too, because it had the open stomach, not in a suggestive sexual way or anything. It didn't go down so low or anything, but it was just, what was on display there was the womb area, not that she's a mother or anything like that, but again, just that aspect of motherhood being linked to the feminine character. So you're going to show this character is feminine. You want to obviously accentuate those things. Obviously, same thing in a male. A strong man has to have broad shoulders, a narrower waist. I mean, that's not how actual every man looks around the world. We obviously know that every woman doesn't look like women in comic books. That's not the point. Comic books are not supposed to represent the reality around us and all of the body types and all of the everything. No, that's absurd. This is a visual medium. We should be working with visual cues and symbolism. And they try to change that. Well, we need to change the symbolism because that's all culturally constructed. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's been there since the dawn of art history. You can go look at that. You can look at, it's going to be somewhat differently visually represented culture to culture. You've got the Venus of Willendorf, or compared to, a Renaissance Botticelli or whatever, and you're going to have different proportions and whatnot, but you're still going to see accents on the breasts and hips because that is femininity, So they'll try to, we're changing the imagery and it doesn't work. Marvel comics are disgusting to look at today. They're just gross. like all of the characters look like sort of androgynous little, you know, the art's disgusting, but the character designs too is like you can't even tell anything about a character by looking at them. You can hardly tell the characters apart. Iron Man has the exact same physique as Carol Danvers, you know, in a modern Marvel comic book. It's nonsense. It's gross. So they don't, so by they'll use that kind of excuse. They'll use, well, we're trying not to sexualize these characters anymore because that's sexist or whatever, and they'll try to pretend that any sort of uh, visual depiction that accentuates the woman's body is sexist or sexualization, and it's not. As I've said many times, there is a difference between sexualization and idealization. Idealization should very much be at play in any comic book medium, you know, because it's a visual medium, you know, that's necessary to cue readers different things about these characters. And again, you can contextualize that in different ways. It doesn't mean every character has to be huge and busty or whatever, but you don't make them look like tube worms like Marvel does these days. It's ridiculous. Oh, and Lister, thank you very much for 9.99. So I have two female characters from my fantasy Western story. One who is a marshal, is a classic tomboy, and the other is more feminine and even has a crush on one of my male characters. Yeah, and that's, you know, when you talk about authentic femininity, again, it's not saying that, well, if you don't dream of being married and a housewife, you're not a real woman. No, of course not. I mean, the tomboys can be perfectly authentically feminine, you know. It doesn't mean that you have to be into Barbie dolls and dresses or whatever, but it does mean that you really embrace that feminine genius, which is your unique gifts toward motherhood, whether it's you being an actual mother or not. Same thing with men. It's the unique gifts that you have as a man, leaning towards fatherhood, you know. Protect, serve and protect, be a man, you know, take care of the people around you.